Hello, everyone. It's November 15, 2022. Almost the end of the year. We're getting ready to kind of wrap up the whole session series about Intro to. This week, we are talking about Intro to Escorted Tour, organized tour, guided tour. Everyone calls it a little bit different, but there's so much in that specific world. There's so many suppliers, there's so many options. So let's start with a little bit, we'll call it like definition, as what is an escorted tour. So people tend to define escorted tour as someone from the tour company, whether it's a local US based company or maybe the agency is escorting a group, versus guided tours, which guided tours would mean that a local person at the destination is guiding the tour. They're not necessarily escorting them all the way from home with flights to get to the destination. They'll stay at the same hotel as them. They're all in the same group. Again, escorted will normally mean someone that is getting them from point A to point B from home, including the flights. Versus guided tours, which are more local, right? More local. Let's say you're going to Italy, you're going to meet up with that person in the hotel. They're going to be local to the country versus someone who's coming from the US most of the time. Now, in terms of companies, you do have big tour companies, and there are lots of them. I can't even say how many, probably over 100 tour companies that are out there. The names that you probably know, like Globus and TTC, the travel company, Adventures by Disney, G Adventures, Monogram, Colette, ETS, and so there's are so many, literally over 100. Some of them will be more destination specific. So a tour company that only sells to Italy or only sells to Asia, right? A bigger area. Some will do more variety, like Europe in general. So they'll do Eastern Europe, they'll do Western Europe. Some don't have a focus on a destination. They will more focus on the type of trip, like active, expedition, luxury. Right? There are specific companies that will sell active travel. It can be South America, can be local US, can be in Europe, right? Active in general, hiking, biking. Again, many options for active, and of course, expedition. It's specific areas like the Galapagos, like the Antarctica or Iceland. There's specific areas where people do more expedition style trips. There are companies that specialize more in demographics, so geared more towards young, like G Adventures, geared more toward families, like Adventures by Disney or Globus, or a lot of the family-friendly brands. There are many companies that focus more on single, that they'll have less single occupancies, or do single trips designated for singles. And then you also have what we call religious travel. You have ETS, again, Globus. Some of the big brands like Globus and TTC will have specific companies that focus on each and every one of the things that I've mentioned. So some will do luxury, some will do religious, but it's really best to go with if you have a client when you're maybe trying to sell to a church or something, and they're more Christian based or Jewish based, you want to go with these specific companies that write on their flag that they're more of a religious type trip, again, if that's the trip that they're looking for. Some companies differ by size. Some will have small groups, and small groups can be 8 to 16. That would kind of be my definition for a small group. Other companies will say small groups, but they'll say 16 to 30 or anything other than large, which is, like a large coach bus, right? A coach bus can fit like 50 people. That's large. Some companies have large coach buses, but they're like the business class of coach buses. Well, you'll have more leg room, and it will actually be only for 16, 24 people. So it really depends on your clients, what they're looking for. Same as when you're looking for an all-inclusive, right? Adults only, geared towards families, something more luxurious, something that is a little more unique. There are a lot of options when you're looking at escorted tours. Another portion of escorted tours, I would say it's the cruise combos, meaning cruise tours, right? An extension to a cruise, pre and post. You can do it either with a tour company or with the cruise line itself, which is similar again to a river cruise, which we've talked about it. A river cruise would be the closest one to an escorted tour, right? Because most of the river cruise that we talked about is actually the land-based. The ship, the river just takes you from one spot to another and house you as the hotel, the floating hotel. But in general, a river cruise is an escorted trip, a guided tour. And then you also have the length of the tours. There's a lot of trips that are one-day tours. You might sell them as, a person goes to Cancun, right? And they want to experience Chichen Itza. They want to go to Escorted Park. They want to visit the cenotes or whatever it is. You're technically selling a guided tour, an escorted tour, but it's just for one day. And then you can decide whether it's, a small group or a large group, depending on the companies. But that's also an escorted one. Again, it's a half day or a full day. Of course, there are some that are multi-day, where you, again, either fly, let's say you fly to London, and then it's going to be 4 nights in London, and then the train, they'll give you the train tickets, and everyone travels as a group to Paris, and then you'll do Paris for 5 nights, and then you come back. So there are multiple options. Again, you can do multiple destination, multi-day, short days. You can do them as add-ons, as I've mentioned, to a cruise. You will see like on Viator, and a lot of these companies will offer, like as same as you would go and book the Blue Lagoon in Iceland. You can do a 4-night trip leaving out of Reykjavik. You can just book that. If you have people cruising, you can do an add-on for a pre or a post in many destinations. Again, Iceland was just an example, but there's a lot of them out there. There again, with the companies, with the luxury and the level of level of hotels, when you book or when you look at what they offer, technically it's a set itinerary, right? The disadvantage of an escorted tour is you can't really change what they have to offer. There's a lot of companies and there's many itineraries. Most of them tend to offer about the same thing, but let's say you're looking into Thailand or you're looking into South America, you will look at an itinerary of what the company has to offer, and that's it. There's no wiggle room that you will have if you're doing that on your own, right? And as an independent versus in a group. The advantage, of course, is the price. The second advantage would be someone is technically organizing it for you. You don't have to book 3 nights at this hotel, arrange a transfer, book a different hotel there, maybe book another tour, set up reservations for dinner, and get everything set up either for yourself or for your clients. It's an easy package that you can sell that technically includes everything. And when I say includes everything, of course, a lot of things are not included, because you always have to take a look with the suppliers and the tours. You will have to read the fine print and see that there are some tours that are not technically included. So they will get you to London, but the Tower of London has an extra cost to it. Or some companies have too many free days. right? So this evening you're free. This morning you're on your own. So always take a look at what the suppliers tend to offer. Some people want that option so they can actually deviate and say, you know what, the tour doesn't include this specific museum or this specific monument or something. I would like to see it. I'm happy that they have 2 nights from the whole 7 nights that I can, do whatever I want. And some say, look, I'm spending enough money. I want everything included. I don't want to try and look for what am I supposed to do during this day. So there is a product for every type of person, same as you are qualifying your clients with an all-inclusive, with a cruise. You need to qualify and understand what's the important thing for them. Are they looking for more active, wake up 7 in the morning, finish at 10 p.m., or they want more of a relax option? You will see that the hotels or similar will be listed. So you won't necessarily get the name of the hotel, but you will get Hilton Metropole in London, 4-star or similar, right? So you get the idea of what the hotel would be. You're not necessarily locked into that specific hotel because it can change. So you will see if they say, Sofitel or Ritz versus Holiday Inn Express, which Holiday Inn in Europe is not a bad product compared to the US. It's actually considered a good one, but it will give you an idea. You can and should Google the hotels and the websites just to see what's out there. And again, depending on, of course, the destinations in the Far East, you'll get more luxury. In South America, you'll get more authentic. It depends, of course, and in Europe, you might get more central, right? Middle of easy to get to places. So it really depends on what your client is looking for. Now, we talked about small, we talked about the disadvantage of maybe going with other people. You can also do a private, which is not technically an independent tour. I'm not talking about an independent tour, which we will touch on I think the next session is the independent, like complete FIT. But I'm talking about a family of, of 8 or 2 families going together. You can create a private tour for them. Again, not different than an FIT escorted tour. Sorry, FIT independent tour. It will be an organized escorted tour for your group, right? Everything is sorted out for them from the arrival, the pickup, the transfers, the tours, the meals, where they're going to have dinner and lunch, and everything is going to be set up as an escorted tour for your small private group, right? Budget starts from very low for some of these companies to super ultra whatever. There is no limit with these types of tours. There are many companies that I'm sure you guys heard that do like the ultra luxury with ANK and a lot of others that will do it. So again, depending on what the budget is and where your client wants to go. We can combine and do escorted tours for groups. Again, that doesn't have to be a private in terms of a private price. You can have your own group of 60, 30, or 50 people. If you see an itinerary or a date or something that you think and feel that you can sell to your clientele, you can go and offer that trip to your clients. So it's already set. Everything's already built in. You have the dates. You have you can literally copy and build and send it to your clientele and see if they would be interested. And then if you have enough people, you can separate that group that may have more people from other agencies or people who book on their own and do your own group. So if you reach out to the company and say, look, I saw that you have this specific group going to Costa Rica on April 10th. I actually already have 10 people. I know your minimum is 8 or whatever. I want this to be only my group. They won't charge you a private price. They will give you what the price is that, you know, everyone kind of sells. Sometimes they will even offer you a better price and say, look, this is the price for the group, whether, because 16 people fits in the car. So you now have 14. We can bring 2 more people and it's going to be the same or reduced because they still have the room, the hotel and the tours. But the bus and the guide and everything else kind of already, it's a fixed cost. So you can play with that. I think Michelle, I told her about Colette. I know Colette had options where you can reach out to them and they will make a flyer specifically for your group. It doesn't cost you anything. So if you find an itinerary that you like and they promote, you can call them and they'll print flyers just for you for that specific price, for that specific group, and you can promote it. There are other companies who do that as well, but with Colette, it seems like you just need to request and they'll do it. They have their, you know, there's disadvantages and advantages to every supplier. Also, when you're booking tours, you also have to bear in mind some will offer flights, some won't, some will have group rates for air, but it will normally be from Miami, from New York, from San Francisco, depending on where you're going, and your client will have to get there or maybe pay the add-on to get there. Always, as I've mentioned, look at what's included and what's not included. Sometimes they will write that the domestic flights, let's say it's Europe or it's Far East, and then there are flights in between or a train in between, they might say it's not included or that has an extra cost. So always look at what's included so you don't make any mistakes with your clients. And again, a lot of them will offer pre and post if your clients are saying that 7 days is not enough, or they want maybe, I just recently did Egypt and the people wanted to do an extension, 3 more nights in Israel or Petra, Jordan. There's always add-ons. Sometimes the add-ons are not necessarily in the same country. So I would listen to what your client wants to do. I would ask if the client is okay with, you know, going with a few more people to help share the cost. Also, even if people have a high budget and they like to spend, there's some things that you can do in a group that you can't do privately. There's some unique opportunities and unique excursions and experiences that the bigger companies such as A&K, such as Adventures by Disney, that they let them go to the Great Wall of China before they technically open, or they go from the back gate. And there's a lot of things that you can do with groups that you can't do with individuals, right? With people just planning their own or driving on their own. There's a lot of benefits to it. I think it's important to educate your client as to what an escorted trip could look like. Did anyone have or have any recent experience or sold anything? Have you been on an escorted tour in the last 3 years, 4 years?
No.
They tend to go, I mean, people think that maybe it's like an older crowd. When we do get to sell them, we do sell them to families. Again, you have to understand that the people that are booking this, they want a turnkey, easy A to B, right? That's kind of why they're coming to you, right, as the travel professional, to help them plan their trip. But sometimes the trip is just, it's not feasible. It's just not, you can't do this on your own because it just gets like too expensive. a private guide, you know, that to take you from one place to another, and you know, multiple destinations and everything. If you have a guide just for you, the price is just going to be way too high. The advantage of a group is that the guide, the car, some of the tours are divided, the cost is divided by a lot of people, or again, depending on it, you know, price is everything, cost is everything for that. So yeah, I was looking when I did a little bit of research on the companies. There's so many people. Some people do you know, like in Canada, where you do it with the rail, right? There's Amtrak Vacations, there's like a Rail Europe. There, it doesn't have to be the conventional bus, doesn't have to be the conventional, you know, even flights. There are a lot of options out there for tours. And again, the out of the box, like, you know, like Galapagos, you know, when you sell Celebrity, for example, and you sell Flora or any of the expedition style cruises, you're not just selling the cruise. The cruise is just a way to get you there, but there's, because it's very small islands, it's an all-inclusive. All right, so the meals are included, the tours are included, you know, the guides, the transfers, pre-night, sometimes even flights to Quito will be included. So there's a lot of ways to look at escorted tours. It doesn't have to be the traditional, you know, a bus of 50 people going together and waiting in lines, and you know, with let's say old people, right? There is an option for everything. We've done bike tours, we've done now they have e-bikes for a lot of these companies, so you know, even the people that are less fit can do it. There's diving, there's photography, you know, the National Geographic. Everyone has an option for an escorted tour. And even if you start small and doing it as an extension, as an excursion for cruises, or when your people are staying at an all-inclusive and you are selling this, we've had a chance we know for a specific week that we have a lot of people in Cancun. We've done an excursion with a bus, and they actually went and picked up all of our people from different hotels. So there's multiple ways of looking into doing things like that. I want you to kind of open your mind and maybe start small or maybe go big, right? There's multiple options there for tours, because everyone wants to tour and not everyone can afford or know how to do it privately. Okay. Anyone have any questions regarding kind of what we discussed, or any interest? I think, Michelle, you've mentioned wine tours, right? So wine tours, there are specific companies who do wine tours, whether it's with a river cruise or not. You can fly people to Bordeaux or to Avignon, and you can do an escorted tour with a few hotels. You know, stay at wineries, do tours there. Literally sky's the limit in terms of groups of escorted tours. Again, whether it's private, or I always like to tell people, don't invent the wheel, because whatever you're looking for has been done before. So it exists. Yoga retreat, bicycle, short people who like to go to tall places, tall people who like to go to the lowest place on. Everything exists. I don't think we will ever find a thing where, oh, they haven't done this before, right? They're doing yoga with goats, right? So they can do, everything is out there. So I would say, if you have an interest group, if people are interested in something, or something that you are interested and you want to go and maybe encourage people, you know, we've had a lot of people in the last few years that like not the tennis, how's it called, the
Pickleball.
pickleball. Yeah, it's been
Pickleball.
at the beginning, like a few years back, we would do pickleball tour. Like we go from a few resorts and people. Now it's like so popular. Everyone is doing this, but there's a lot of stuff out there. Sports based health, eco trips, green, helping the environment, volunteer tours, right? There's some companies who will do, you can go to and volunteer in a school or a shelter. There's something for everyone. I was just like, open your mind to the possibility. Maybe give some ideas to people. Maybe they would be interested in something. I think they did Game of Thrones, right? They did Harry Potter following. They did and New Zealand and Australia, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. There are so many options out there. They're doing ghost tours, like London or Sleepy Hollow or anywhere and everywhere, Salem, everywhere in the world, there is some sort of an interest and there's a group that likes them. Find Facebook groups of people who have unique interests and you can try and, encourage people to go. People who have affinity groups, people who like the same thing. They don't necessarily know each other, but they like the same thing. And they can get together and travel as a group. You will be you can give the idea, right? Golf tours, anything that you can think of, you can create an escorted tour, whether it's private or existing, and push towards it. Okay.
So Roy, all of these, like there's literally like a tour operator that would pay commissions for these. So even like the volunteer
Yes.
type tours.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Some,
Okay.
some will do net, and some will do with commission. So I can tell you that a lot of the regular ones like Amstar and Nexus in Mexico and the Caribbean, they will do it as net. You can mark it up a little bit, right? There's still, it's some of it will be for you as profit. Some of it will be for you as look at what I've been helping to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some sort of a publicity. So it depends. You can charge a little bit for your time, but but people do team building. We've done a few things like that. You can mark it up a little bit. But people did Cuba a lot and made money a lot for helping the local community. Volunteer, bring stuff. There's tons of ideas and tons of things that can get people involved. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a cruise line that did it, right? Explore, no, what was the name of it? There was a specific cruise line with the Carnival Corp that was doing basically volunteer work. Eco-friendly. I forgot the name of it. It doesn't exist anymore, but they had it pre-COVID, and they used to do a lot of Cuba trips as well. So yeah, just think and come up with ideas. As I said, start small or go big. Any interest? Can anyone think of a group that maybe you might be interested? Again, I know wine tours are big and bike trip, but anything a little out of the box that you guys can think of?
Not really.
No? All right. Just I would encourage you to think of something and get something that hopefully you are passionate about, but if not, then it doesn't have to be. You can go with whatever the TikTok goes, right? Whatever the whatever generation or whatever people are into right now. I know an agent that used to do hospital tours, like people who were like, they had a thing, they would go and visit hospitals around the world. I don't know, whatever works. Whatever works for people that you can help arrange. Do unique experiences, something that you have. And once you have the first group that affinity group, the people who travel, and it was a successful one, they are already planning the next one. So if you do have something like that and we can chat, you always want to have a second one before the group leaves, because if it's a successful one, people will continue and book. If you want to do what Jennifer did and do it like a local thing in Key West, or take on something like that, you can, but I would say that is more advanced. I would go with something that with a tour company that can actually help and arrange everything. Things that people can't do on their own. Which again, with the domestic, it's a little more. It's easier for people to just get in a car and do, versus if it's Far East, maybe they don't speak the language. Always if they have a handicap, that's where you can excel, because then you're the expert. You can get there. You can give them what they can't do on their own. A lot of these tours will have something that they called guarantee departures, right? The way that it works with a lot of the companies is they'll set up dates. Not all of these dates they will actually go, right? Because they'll promote a specific tour, and if they don't have enough people at the end, they won't just send your 2 clients there, right? But there are specific dates where it will say guaranteed departure. That's something that you can talk to the tour operator, the company, and say, is it a guaranteed departure? If I'm booking these clients and they're putting a deposit, are they guaranteed to go? Some will say yes. We know this destination, we've done it before, we know it's going to fill or whatever. This is guaranteed, and they'll take the responsibility. So if we don't have enough people and just the 2, your clients are getting a private trip. Well, there's some of them. They're sure that they'll most likely not get a private trip, because the supplier knows already that they will fill to the max, like 16, 8, 20, depending on what they say the max is for this specific trip. But you want to go and do a guaranteed departure. If it's not guaranteed, you have to make sure that your client is aware of it, because they can call them a few months after they book and say, look, we don't have enough people, unfortunately we have to cancel. And if they booked flights separately or bought insurance or whatever, they lost it, they will get the cost of the deposit, of course, back. But anything else, and maybe they have to now start planning something new, it's not ideal. So try and only book guaranteed departures if possible. Insurance wise, most of these specific companies, they don't normally offer a cancel for any reason, like regular travel tour operators. They will normally go with like a third-party insurance. So only covered reasons are included. There are some exceptions to the rule, but in general, again, always take a look, always compare what the tour company is offering versus third-party insurance to see if it's the same. You can always get canceled for any reason insurance with a third party, but you're only going to get 75-80% of the cost if it's not a covered reason. Their insurance is in general is cheaper for older crowd because it's a group pricing. Same as with some of the suppliers, some of the cruise lines and all. If you have older clientele, always best to compare. Sometimes the tour operator insurance is going to be cheaper and better. If your clients are planning on doing a pre or a post, you would want to get the information of the hotel where they're staying for the last night or the first night. They might have a rate for extension, and it's just think about it. Sometimes, let's say they start in London or in Poland or whatever they're starting, find out what the hotel is and try and book there. It will make it a lot easier for your client later because they won't have to switch from one hotel to another. So that's a great tip if you have people that are extending or doing a pre. Sometimes they will include the transfers already, sometimes they won't, and they'll just have to meet up at the hotel. But it's always best to find out which hotel they're doing it and extending. Check with the company. They might have a price, like a set negotiated price. For the most part, these extensions are also commissionable. So if they're doing 2 nights pre or 4 nights post, and you're booking the hotel with the tour company, the hotel should be commissionable as well. Most of the rooms are set for doubles. If you have families, just see if there's a triple rate. It might be cheaper, or maybe if you want them to the kids get their own room, it's a lot easier to confirm side-by-side rooms when it's a large group, because if they get 50 rooms or 40 rooms, then they can easily within the block find rooms that are next to each other. So that tends to be a little easier when you have a family that needs multiple rooms and you're booking within a larger group. I hope that makes sense to you. I would say that's the majority of we'll call it intro to escorted tours. I will touch up on custom FIT, which is a little different, in the next session, and you'll hopefully you kind of get the idea and the difference between them. But easily a custom FIT can turn into a group, whether it's a private group or more people are interested and they want to go with. Again, any questions before I continue again for something else?
I have a question. Would you use this type of group or this approach for like speculative, or not really?
I would pique interest of people. If you see an itinerary that you think might work for a specific crowd, again, or an interest group, I would look. These groups already exist, right? This is the space that was already booked by the tour company. You don't need to go and reach out to them and ask for group space just for you. So these exist already. They're there. If you come right now to a specific group of people and you say, I have this group, even if you don't, I have this tour, even if you don't have it, because the tour operator offers it. If they say yes, you can then just immediately call the supplier and say, I want to book this, but I want to do it just for my group, and I need 16 or 10 or whatever rooms. They'll do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you already have the speculative place, tentative. You can promote it, you can sell it. You don't need to physically own the space or pay a deposit or anything. Once you have enough people that are interested, even if it's 1 or 2 rooms, you can call the supplier and say, look, I am interested in this. I currently have only 2 rooms. I would like to potentially look at it as a private group just for mine. Some will say, okay, we'll open a tentative group. We'll put these 2. And if they don't fill, we'll put them in our own group. But And some will say, no, just book it in then. And when you have enough, when you have like 8 rooms, we'll split them from the main group and you'll have your own. So it's flexible. But yeah, there is no reason why not to promote as a tentative, as a speculative, because it's out there. It's confirmed. You only need to book into it.
Okay, thank you.